Now that we've got some of the shapes blocked in for the head, I think it's a good idea to go ahead and create the eyes to bring in so that we can start sculpting around them and have something a little bit more concrete to build around when we're creating that eye area. So let's take our mesh from Mudbox, and I'm going to just go to level, let's go to level 1 here, and we could either select this, or we don't really have anything else in the scene, so we don't need to select anything really. And go to File, and let's send this to Maya, and let's just send it as a new scene. So we'll go ahead and say it's going to give us a warning, nothing selected, so it's going to send everything, which in this case is fine. It's also going to give us a warning because we're not currently at the base level. So it's going to ask us, are we sure? Do we want to send the base instead? No, we want to send it at the current level. So we'll choose that. And from Maya here we get this. Do we want to save? No, we'll save. And then we can maximize that. And you can see that that mesh has now been loaded up here. So you can see that mesh, and you can see the resolution of the mesh. So at this point, let's go ahead and start to build in some eyes. So I'm going to start by just creating a polygon primitive sphere. And it's a good idea to, when you're creating characters like this, to start to create a library. So you may already have some eyes that you like to work with, and then you can just bring those in. That's a good idea. Or if you go through this process and you get an eye that you think is worthwhile, you can keep that in your library and then reuse it for other characters that you may want to create. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this in. I want to lower the resolution down, so I'm going to go into the polysphere node, and let's start to take some of these numbers down a little bit. I'm going to take this subdivisions axis to 16, and let's go ahead and take this down to maybe 12 or so. All right. So now at this point, what I want to do is go ahead and select these faces in the center of the pole that's facing the front. So I rotated it just so that the pole is facing out. All right. And I'm going to take these polygons and I just want to push them back along the Z. So just something like that. Okay. I can also scale them so it flattens everything out for us. Okay. And you can go into the side and check that just to see that everything has been flattened down all the way. Okay, now I'm going to, with those polygons still selected, go to Mesh and let's extract those. Okay, and then I'm going to take those and move them back. Let's center the pivot and enlarge it a bit. Okay, now this is going to serve as our iris, so I want to just add a little bit of resolution on either side of this line. So we can go to Offset Edge Loop tool, click on this edge, and just want to bring a couple of edges in there. Okay, so we can see what this will look like when we subdivide it just by hitting 3, and that'll give you a better indication of what that is going to look like. Let's also take this piece in the center, and I'm going to actually isolate that, and let's go ahead and select every other edge and go ahead and delete those. Turn off our isolation. Let's grab both of these and let's go ahead and combine them. Okay, then we'll delete the history and center our pivot. And now we can start placing this within our head. Okay, now keep in mind that we don't have the advantage of seeing all of our sculpted detail, but I just want to get the eye in place and then we can start doing our sculpting around it. Okay. So I'm going to kind of put that in position there, kind of a rough position. I think it should go. Okay. Now once I get it in a good spot, I can duplicate it, move it across. Now if I want to get them in exactly the same spot, then I could group them and mirror them over. In this case, it's not really that important to me to have them in this exact same spot because our sculpt is going to be asymmetrical anyway. So I'm actually going to come in and I want to raise up this one on his right just a hair. Okay, and then we can start to build around this, and we can always move these later. but I just want to be able to get those in so that then we can take those back into Maya and start doing our sculpting around those eyes. I'm going to actually take both of these. I'm going to move them back into the head just a little bit, maybe down a little bit. Now we are doing a caricature, so it's exaggerated, but I just want to make sure that they're kind of in the right spot here. All right, so we have our eyes. Now I'm not going to actually add those to our mudbox scene yet. I'm going to wait and add everything at once. So there's still a few pieces that I want to add and change. I want to modify the topology for the mouth, and I also want to add some an interior for the mouth, so some gums and teeth. So we'll go ahead and continue that process in the next lesson.